Hey, HTC Church family, it's Pastor Paul, and I'm here with some friends of ours that have been known here in the desert and kind of connected to our church. But Scott and Lisa here, Hitzel, they have been affected greatly by the LA fires down there. They lived in Altadena, their house burned down, and we're going to have an opportunity as a church to bless them, but want to introduce them to you and for you to hear their story. So, Scott and Lisa, thanks for being here, and I'm so sorry this is going on. I know it's been tough. We've been in talks really since it happened, kind of texting you back and forth, where you going, what's going on. So before we get to that part of the story, why don't you share with us a little bit about your family? How long have you guys been living down in Altadena? Kind of your journey a little bit there.
Absolutely. I think everybody should know as well that you and I go back even into the 90s when we were in a book club with Jack Hamilton and all of those guys. And so it's just thank you for reaching out like you did for your leadership team. So I'll let Lisa share a little bit about our family right now.
Yeah, so Scott and I have been married for almost 30 years. We have twin adult sons, Ethan and Ryan. They're 22. We have a really cute Labradoodle named Lewis and various other items.
Yeah, and I would say we've been living down in that area, serving, whether it be at a local church. We've been in that area for about 7 years.
Wow.
And so, it was home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was, that's our neighborhood that you saw in the news.
Oh yeah. I know that you sent us some pictures that we'll kind of have in this little video, but of your neighborhood, that big image from the sky of the whole Altadena, that was your neighborhood, which is crazy. So tell me a little bit about kind of the night of the fire, kind of how where you were at, what happened, how you got out, whatever you want to share. Just love to hear a little bit about kind of that moment in time.
Yeah, we'll just go back and forth here a little bit. We had been given the alert that there's high winds in the area. And I would say for probably 12 to 24 hours ahead of time, we were getting 60 to 80 mile an hour gusts of wind. And so people were experiencing some power outages. And you're really just thinking, batten down the hatches, stay safe, don't go outside. There was a reprieve in that wind. And, I just had that mindset of, hey, they said this could go on for days longer. I'm going to run down to Costco and just grab a few extra items. We felt nothing else could go wrong. Just be mindful of the wind. When I was coming back up into our community, it just dawned on me, and it's something that I'd never seen before, but the whole city, like all of Altadena and parts of Pasadena, there was no power. So even as I'm driving back to the house in the dark now, there's no traffic lights. The winds picked back up, so you're back at the trees falling over. I literally had to go around trees just to get back to the house. We get into the house and, I'm thinking groceries in the car. Yeah. And all that was just dismissed because now you're like, please don't have anything fall on me while I'm getting out of the car.
Yeah.
And so we got into the house. I got back into the house, and it was just surreal because we were just like, there's no power.
It's pitch black.
It's pitch black.
Because you're kind of up against the foothills there in Altadena. So
we were. We were.
Yeah. we were
up in the foothills area of Altadena. And so we were just standing there talking about the groceries, and then one of our sons.
Right. The power went out, and I remember exactly where I was standing, and I thought, well, yeah, that makes sense. But little did I know that is actually when the fire did begin, when it started. About 45 minutes passed, and one of our sons looked out the back window and said, hey guys, there's a fire. There's a fire out there. And we thought, well, that's really strange, that there's a fire happening right now. So we looked out, and we just could not believe what we saw. All four of us just stood at the window with our mouths just open because there was no warning. There was no evacuation notice. And we had the vantage point of where our home was. We could see the fire, but the rest of our friends and community would not have known that it was coming.
Wow.
So that was a very scary and surreal moment. And then add the winds, the horrific winds, and we just watched it come closer and closer with every couple minutes. We just saw higher flames and it was coming closer. And we just looked at each other and said, we have to alert our friends and neighbors. We have to get ourselves together and we've got to get out of here.
Yeah. And what happened, Paul, was that, and there'll be some images that we've sent over to you, but that orange glow turned into flames. And then you're looking at these flames that are 40 foot plus in height. And then with the 60 to 100 mile per hour gusts, there's claiming, and we watched it actually unfold, that these flames are moving at 6 football fields in length per minute. And with that type of wind, it was picking up the embers and throwing them, they said, 3 miles in every direction. So there was no way first responders, like I immediately knew, like, you can't put a plane in the air to try to fight this.
Right.
You can't, a lot of the firefighters are already in the Palisades.
Yeah. Resources are stretched.
Resources are stretched out. And what Lisa alluded to, which was so unique, was there was no warning. And so as you're hearing things in the news about Edison might have failed to being able to turn off the power grids, even though their warning lights were going off. The other thing that took place is everyone in our sector of Northwest Pasadena, Altadena, the emergency evac system did not work.
Right.
So we never were given notice. And if we weren't on the ridge with somebody looking out the window, we would have never known.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, the only thing that crossed our minds where we said, team huddle, we just stood there in the dark. Everybody grab a flashlight, dogs running around. We have a special needs son with autism who's panicking. And we just said, we are going to need to pack up what's most important that could only fit in a car or 2 cars.
Yeah.
What do you take?
Wow.
In a whole home of memories, of dreams, of things.
Yeah.
And some people said, well, they're only things. I know, but they were our things.
Sure.
And they were important things that go back generations.
Yeah.
And then we said, we have to tell the neighbors. So I ran, and again, it's pitch black out, 60-mile-an-hour winds. I'm just knocking on people's doors going, you guys, fire. Some people are starting to come over to our backyard to look out, and they're going, we got to get out of here. And so we grabbed what you can with a flashlight.
Yep.
While you're panicked.
While your mind's going a mile a minute.
And we're literally, in your mind, you're just thinking EpiPens. Like one of our sons has allergies, like life-threatening peanut allergies. We need the EpiPens. We need the prescriptions. We need
the papers. We need the photos. We need the passports.
Right. Yeah. And that's all you're thinking about in that moment of, whatever that is. And you're like, oh, and we need our pets. And so we put everything by the front door, and we just asked Ryan, we're like, please hold the front door for us, and we're going to get our items out to the car as quick as we can. And so we did that. And then we were like, we got to go.
Yeah. Like
20 minutes later, we're gone. It was at that moment, you're just like, and I know that a lot of us have been in tough situations, but they really say your IQ lowers when those types of moments. And it's true.
Yeah.
Because we're like, what do we do now that we're in the car?
Yeah, where am I going?
Where am I even going?
Yeah.
And there's no traffic lights on. There's nothing on. And I just remember saying to Lisa, get to the Rose Bowl. And I said the Rose Bowl because I just assumed because it's the stadium, we're not too far away. She knew how to get there. I didn't know if we'd get separated. I didn't know if cell phones are working. I was just like, just get to the Rose Bowl and we'll find each other. She put one son in one car, I put one son in the other, pets, and whatever we could grab. And we found each other at the Rose Bowl, and they had the stadium lights on because of the just the generators.
Generators on, sure.
We found each other, and then we realized, oh, we did good. Because then all of LA showed up, like the fire chiefs, the police department, everybody, and they turned that into a staging ground right in the parking lot we were at.
Yeah.
So we're still windy. And then
even though your IQ went down, it was still higher than other people's IQ because you're already starting at this level, Scott.
Oh, it's so kind. It's so kind of you. It was a collective agreement. But even driving to the Rose Bowl was I was honestly scared.
Well, you told me, I think, even going over the bridge, right?
It was so frightening.
Yeah.
I think everyone's in panic mode, and there's no
Accidents
lights.
are going on.
It's dark. You know, there's trees in the road from the winds. There's downed power lines. It was just very frightening, and we unfortunately did get stuck over a bridge that in the wind was less than something that I would want to be trapped in again.
Yeah, literally. And you're just like, okay, we're driving on the wrong side of the road going into where traffic is coming, but that's because there's a power line right here and there's a tree that's down. Wow. And, you know, in your mind, you're in survival mode and you're just thinking, the people that I love the most are not even in the same car with me. And that's my son and my wife back there. We got to get to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And so when we did, and those winds again were just whipping. So even when we got trapped on the bridge, the cars were just literally doing this back and forth. And you're like, I don't know where this fire is right now. I don't know if we're going the right direction right now. And then when we got to the Rose Bowl, it was like, great.
Now what?
Now what? Now what?
Sure.
And what about, and I kept thinking too, what if all of our friends, like all the people, we cannot reach out to anybody. People are like, we were watching it on the news. And we're like, we didn't have power. We didn't know what was going on.
Right.
We never got the evac warnings that a lot of the city did. Of the 27 people that died in that area, 17 of them were within 2.5 miles of our house. And you're just like, they didn't know. Or there were special needs where we've heard about stories, and it's been on the news of a father in a wheelchair going in to get his cerebral palsy son, and they're just not able to make it back out. And with no warning, you begin to understand that, because the fears were, is there going to even be a road for us to be on?
My fear getting into the car, getting our family into the car was, I don't even care about what we can get into the car if we can't get out of the road, like if the road is blocked and we're trapped there. So it was a very terrifying, and survival does kick in, and just have to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And you made it to the Rose Bowl. That night you ended up getting a hotel somewhere down there in that area for maybe a couple nights, trying to figure out even what's going on, right? I mean, the fires are still burning. You're still just getting information, you know, as it's coming, you're figuring out what to do. From there, you end up coming back up to the desert and kind of being here. So tell me a little bit about, you know, you're down there, you get out of the house, you're in your hotel for a couple nights thinking, okay, we have a bed to sleep in. What's next? So
yeah,
give me
it
that
was
next
hard.
step.
Even the hotel was a unique factor. The fire was coming towards us, so we went the opposite direction. So we headed to Burbank.
Okay.
And we were fortunate enough to find a hotel that had 2 rooms that allowed pets, but they weren't even on the same floor. And not that that's a big deal in light of all that, but
in the midst of it, you kind of want to be as close as you can.
You're just like, whoa, I can't even have the family in the same room. There's a disconnect. Like, what does my son with special needs do while we're sitting in a hotel for 4 or 5 nights?
Yeah.
And just realizing that during that time, I slipped back into the community just because I knew they were shutting the roads down, but just being a local, you know how to go around. And I just found my 91-year-old neighbor standing in front of his house that was gone. And Paul, it was so sobering. Jack he was just standing there, and I just went and stood with him. And I'm like, you know, scripture talks about the ability to suffer with people is one of the most beautiful types of fellowship there is. And I just remember we stood for like 30 minutes, and what he said to me, well, I'll never forget. He's just like, I'm so grateful that my wife passed away last year. She could never have withstood this pain. And ironically, he had an American flag that was on his flagpole that somehow or another
blew onto our property.
And I had grabbed it, and in the midst of it all, somehow or another, it made it into our car. I don't remember doing that, but I remember saying, Jack, I've got your flag. And I went and grabbed it and gave it to him, and we put that up on the street. And it's the only thing on our street that even had color.
Sure. Everything's burned down.
Everything's just burned to ashes. And you're just thinking, whoa, this is surreal. We've got to, this is not home now. So we ended up, out of just the kindness of, we call her my bonus mom, but Sue,
Sue Hitzel.
Sue Hitzel.
If anyone's going to open their home to someone, it's going to be Sue Hitzel.
We love Sue. She's so faithful at our Sperry campus, leads Bible studies. She's so faithful. But
She's so faithful. Yeah. And if you've ever experienced Sue, you know Sue, you know. But her and my father have been a part of High Desert for 20 years. And the last time I was actually in this building, we were just talking about it just a couple of minutes ago, Paul, was when I did the eulogize my father. Mm-hmm. And it's fascinating for us to realize that every time we experience loss, we seem to find our way back here. Mm-hmm. And every time we also have great joys, we find ourselves here. Tom and Cheryl and Jack and Linda were some of the first people that reached out, and I just spent some time with Jack this morning, and we found ourselves back at the desert, and we're sharing a 2-bedroom place in Sun City, and we're the youngest, spryest people in the community at the moment. Yeah. And we're just, the 4 of us and our pets are sharing her home with her, and she's just been so gracious and so good, and just such an example of that. And the same with the church. Then when we got here, the very first thing I did was ended up at Costco, just saying, we've got to go get some water. We don't have any socks. We don't have any clothes. We don't have anything.
Yeah, because you just pretty much left with the clothes on your back.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. You didn't pack. You weren't thinking, where am I going to stay? It's going to be cold? It's going to be warm? You're just like, get out.
Yeah.
No.
So you have nothing.
No, somebody donated this yesterday. So, this is kind of like the season we're in.
Yeah.
But I ended up at Costco, and of all the things, that I'm standing in line talking to one of the managers, just saying, this is our story. I literally had just gotten back from Costco when the fire started. Could you guys refund me that so that I can pay for? And out of nowhere, I looked up and I saw Todd, your guys' lead pastor, someone I've known for decades. And he just looked at me, and I just looked at him, and he just beelined it right to me. And he hugged me, and he just held on to me. And he was in the self-checkout lane. I was checking out what he got. He got like tuna and a couple other things. I was like, we could use that tuna.
Tuna? That sounds great.
That sounds like a wonder,
Yeah.
But he just said, we're here for you, and I love you. And I remember just crying and thinking, and I also had to explain I was wearing a Pink Floyd hat. I'm like, it's the only hat I had on. And, and he's like, don't worry about it. And like 15 minutes later, I was just going up and down the aisles, lost, like trying to figure,
what do I need?
What do I even need? Like in this moment, do I need a flashlight? Do I need a blanket? Yes, get a blanket. Todd came back around the corner, and just out of the generosity of his own family's heart, he handed me a gift card. And he's like, this is just from me to you. I love you so much. You've been so faithful for so long in the ministry, and we love Lisa, and we just love you guys. And Arnett's paid for the socks that I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Type of a thing. Yeah. The first food that we ate, the Arnett's personally paid for that. Oh. And so that's how we ended up here. And we've been able to, like, multiple times a week, go back up and down, because we realize I don't have my prescription glasses. They've all melted.
Sure.
Yeah. We don't have our mouth guards. We don't have. And so we just continue to go back and forth and realize each day we try to pick something to help one of us. And I think one of your big first requests was?
Oh, I'm so grateful for the little things. I think I'll forever be grateful for nail clippers. When you don't have them, you're really grateful when you do get them.
Yeah, it's just that. And the boys saying, I would like a pair of pajamas.
Yeah.
And you're like, we can do that. But your mind's not even, you're in survival mode.
Well, I know that when we, and I love hearing that story about Todd. He's so evident of who he is, the whole family.
It is.
Tom and Jack in our church. I know when we got together, we met at Starbucks and talked a little bit, and just kind of, my heart was to say, how can our church help you?
Yeah.
You know, what are the things? And at that point you were like, I got this. And I said, well, why don't you send me an email and just give me a list? Like give me from kind of, I think you said mild to wild, you know, give me the most simple thing. I need socks or groceries to, you know, where are you going? What's next? Because obviously you're not staying at Sue's house forever.
No.
And you got careers down there. You've got things. You're trying to figure out that next step. And so you mentioned that through a relationship of yours, you have a kind of a family friend who owns a house up in Montana.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's kind of your next step. Tell me about that, or what the kind of next steps are, and then, you know, how HTC is going to come alongside you there.
Yeah. Okay. It's when something extreme happens to you, the Lord just gave us some discernment collectively and some wisdom to say, counterbalance that, go drastic to the other extreme.
Okay.
And the ability for us to have been in a small group and a Bible study for years with a couple, and for them, their first reaction was, we had a small house on the market. We just took it off the market. You guys can stay here. And just hearing that it's the window, you know, and you hear that, hey, if God closes a door, he opens a window. Yeah, our door was on fire.
It burned it down.
Yeah.
It closed. It's really closed. And then it turned to ash.
Yeah.
And the window isn't close.
Yeah.
But we see it, and there's a long haul here. It's going to be dark for a while, but that gave us a window to go, this might be just what we need right now, to get to that place to go, we need to heal, need to get our emotions back. We need to make sure our sons are okay. And we just need to find that. So I know that when we did meet, again, just like Todd's heart, your heart reflected, and you're like, whatever I can do personally. And I said, well, we're going to be driving to Montana, and you may forever regret this. But I said, well, we're going to be driving 2 cars. And you said, I'll drive.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's on my calendar right now.
I'm like, okay. Because really that type of a drive with our son with special needs isn't really an option.
Yeah.
So Lisa's going to drive up, and one of the very next major, you know, opportunities to express love was you.
Yeah.
Just saying, I can drive your other car to Montana. Again, it goes beyond. It's lavish. It's practical. It's actually what we need, and we actually don't have the means to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's very humbling.
Well, and even Montana, what a wonderful thing, kind of get out of in a way, like you said, you're getting out of the hustle and bustle of LA, all of those things, getting away to Montana just to heal, process, reflect, see what the Lord's going to do. But even that comes with layers. We have cars for Altadena. We don't have cars for snowy, mountainous Montana. So, we need new snow tires. We need maybe different cars that have 4-wheel drive. I mean, there's layers to this.
Yeah, it's even like I probably need a sweatshirt, and my son needs a pair of boots, and Lisa needs a hat.
Yeah,
you know, like
right.
There's just layers to this.
You have running shoes. You don't have snowshoes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for you and the leadership team with Kurt and Todd and everybody else that's reached out saying, get real practical. What do we mean here?
Yeah.
It gave us the ability to dream without restraints, because there's so many restraints and the feeling of hopelessness. Even though you don't doubt your faith, you don't question your faith, you lean into it. And at the same time, you're going, I don't have the strength to stand. We don't have the strength as a couple to stand right now. We just can't do it. Yeah. So everything from, snow tires. We're going to need those. And the list goes on. Traveling up there and realizing even when we get there, the home's unfurnished. So we'll stay in a hotel for the first 10 days and just tackle a room at a time so that we can, eventually transition into this smaller property. And at the same time, it's 1,288 square feet more than what we own and what we have. And we don't have anything to even put in it today outside of what's inside of our 2 cars right now.
Yeah.
Well, I know that, the Lord is so evident in your life. Your faith is so evident that you guys have been through the ringer the last, you could say 20 years as you've gone from different churches. You've, even now in your current place and this happening, you guys have shown just a faithfulness to the Lord, trusting in Him, even when there's been opportunity to deny Him, been opportunity to blame Him. You have leaned into your faith, and it's so evident. Even just talking to you over, texts or conversations or seeing stuff on social media, it's just it's wonderful to hear of Christians who, when tragedy comes, suffering upon suffering, they genuinely have a faith that leans into the Lord, and it's evident even by the people around you. If it's Tom and Jack and Sue and Todd and other friends down the hill who know you and love you, that community of believers that reach out, as the Bible says, bear burdens with one another and fulfill the law of Christ. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah. And even though maybe some people at HTC know you personally, probably many know Sue personally, but a lot of our staff knows you. And so, we were talking, how can we truly help? Well, our church is so generous, and we have a Benevolence Fund for things just like this. And often we help, obviously, the people within our church who need help, but it gives opportunity to help people in our Oikos. And that's our mission, our Oikos, right? We got our 8 to 15, and you're part of that. You're certainly connected to Sue, but even beyond Sue, to me and to Todd and to Tom and to Jack. And like you said, we've known each other since 98, really, in book clubs as pastors. And so we have a check here for you that is a significant amount of money. I'm not going to tell the church family how much, but it's a big amount of money, because we really want to say, here's a blessing. Go get what you need. If it's a jacket, if it's a hat, if it's furniture, if it's whatever you need, knowing that the insurance companies will come around eventually, but we know that it's going to take a long time. Yeah. And we know that you don't even know what your next step is after Montana. This is just get there, and will you return? Will you not return? What will the work schedules? We don't know that, and that's okay. The Lord does. But at least you have a place. So we want to give you this to you guys, and just say we love you.
Thank you so much. I don't have the words. I really don't have the words. You can help me out here.
Go ahead.
It just means the world to know that, as you said, when tragedy strikes, you do have your faith to lean on, but also to have the tangible arms of your church family wrapped around you is a very comforting thing to know. So I thank you so much.
Yeah, Paul, and truly on behalf of the whole church, and you've probably heard the team say, when you give to High Desert, you're also giving through High Desert. And for many years, I've been on that side of the table, and this is the first time I've ever been here. And just to look at all of you and just say thank you. We could not do this without you. It would be impossible. And it's just such a beautiful reminder of what the family is like and what a taste of heaven is like. So thank you for being a glimpse of hope for us. Thank you for the manna for today and the hope for tomorrow.
Yes.
And we recognize that this is a sacrifice. And we also recognize that there's a lot of other people that are also in need. And so just thank you for your prayers. You guys reaching out has literally helped us every step of the way. And thank you so much. We love you guys. We love your church. And we love your leadership and even your previous leaders. So just thank you.
Well, you're welcome. We love you guys, and we'll be praying for you. And we'll see if I'm driving with you to Montana in just a couple weeks here. So
yeah, I'm going to have to get some extra insurance. I don't know how you
For
drive.
sure.
For sure.
For sure. So anyways, thanks guys for meeting, and blessings on you.
Thank you.
Thank you.